Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. The group entered the dimly lit inner warehouse. Despite the dim lighting, their visions were not affected. There were various treasures, weapons, and tomes inside. They made for a rather dazzling sight. Conk skipped as she walked, brimming with curiosity. Conk was not the only one, everyone's interest was piqued by the treasures as well. Even Duanmu Sheng, who usually conducted himself rather strictly, could not help but look around. Occasionally, he would poke the sabers and swords on the racks with his overlord's spear. Meanwhile, the evil sky pavilion's 4 elders were abnormally quiet. They looked around and touched the things that attracted their interests, looking like a supervisor visiting a site. This saber is amazing. Pan Zhong stared at a saber. After all, he did not have a weapon of his own yet. This sword. Is this the famed treasure of the now extinct wind riding faction, the Wind Rider? Zhou Jifeng picked up a sword, clearly reluctant to put it back down. He was almost drooling. Pan Zhong moved closer to have a look. He nodded and said, "Good eye, little brother." Bam! The overlord's spear stabbed at Wind Rider's blade. After poking it, Duanmu Sheng no longer looked at the sword. He shook his head slightly. How can an Earth-grade weapon be worthy of entering the evil sky pavilion? Pan Zhong and Zhou Jifeng did not dare to retort. Of course, you wouldn't consider this when you have the heaven-grade overlord spear. What choice do I have since I have no weapons? So what if I like Earth-grade weapons? Mr. Third, don't go overboard. Crack. Wind Rider snapped. Zhou Jifeng was taken aback. He said, "You have a point, Mr. Third. How can this third-rate rubbish enter the evil sky pavilion?" The group continued to walk deeper into the warehouse. Lu Zhou did not expect the inner warehouse to be this huge. They had been walking for quite some time, and yet, they were still not at the end. The Empress Dowager did not pay much attention to the items around her. It was as though she frequently came to this place. Li Yunzhao said, "The former emperor left the management of the inner warehouse to the Empress Dowager. All these years, the Empress Dowager has been cautious and conscientious in her duty. Even after the former emperor's passing, the Empress Dowager remained steadfast." At this moment, the Empress Dowager came to halt and turned to look at the others. Then, she slowly said, "You may take whatever you want from the inner warehouse." When Lu Zhou's disciples heard this, they were delighted. They behaved like a band of monkeys who had never seen the world as they hopped and jumped around. Li Yunzhao was baffled. Why would the evil sky pavilion disciples be interested in the items in the inner warehouse when they possessed heaven-grade weapons? In the end, he reprimanded them. "Behave yourselves." The disciples started and no longer dared to move. The Empress Dowager said, "I almost forgot. Indeed, with your statuses, you might not be interested in the items here at all." Zhou Jifeng wanted to cry. "No. I'm interested. I'd love to take all of them back with me." The Empress Dowager pointed to a box in the corner and said, "When Lu Gu was still on the throne, he told me over and over again to look after this box." Li Yunzhao. Understood. Li Yunzhao waved his hand, the box flew over. The light illuminated the box. It was a black box covered with a layer of dust. Li Yunzhao waved his arm again, clearing the dust from the box. Lu Zhou looked at the box. These familiar veins again. The veins on the box highly resembled those on Lin Xayan's armor. However, why were these veins black? As though she could read Lu Zhou's mind, the Empress Dowager said, "So as to not attract unwanted attention, I painted this box black with ink." The older, the wiser. The original color? Red. As expected. Lu Zhou's expression remained unchanged. He looked at the box and asked, "From whom did this box come from?" The emperor had said this was from the imperial tutor. Before the imperial tutor left, he left a few items behind: a sword, a brush, and a box. The sword has been missing for some time now. Based on her words, it was clear she was unaware that Lugu had been very much alive up until recently. Perhaps, Lugu did not want her to know and deliberately kept the secret from her. After all, it was surely painful to depend on life-sucking runes to survive. It was like being a living dead. Nobody in the world could overcome their great limits. Although there were various methods, the most one could do was to delay one's death. In any case, since the Empress Dowager did not know, there was no need to tell her. The Empress Dowager continued to say, a 9-leaf cultivator's power is needed to open the box. Nothing else is able to open it. She had thought someone from the imperial family would attain the 9-leaf stage first. Lugu himself thought so as well. He was of the opinion that if he could reach the 9-leaf stage and obtain whatever was in the box, he would be able to unify the 10,000 tribes and establish a long-lasting dynasty. Alas, he was one step behind. Outwardly, Zhou appeared calm, but he was, in fact, inwardly fretting. I'm only at the 5-leaf stage. Moreover, I've exhausted most of my extraordinary power. How am I going to open it? Pan Zhong said, Pavilion Master, this treasure box was made for you. Pan Litian said, whatever is in the box must be extraordinary. Please open the box, Pavilion Master. Let me gain some knowledge and experience. The others nodded in agreement. Even the Empress Dowager chimed in, I've been looking after this box for centuries, and yet, I don't know what it holds. If the evil Sky Pavilion opens the box, I'll be able to rest in peace. Zhou had saved the Empress Dowager's life once. She would not say no even if Zhou wanted to take the box away. Zhou gauged his own extraordinary power. He felt awkward. He remembered the chant of the heavenly writing scrolls and recited it inwardly. Let's give it a try. Even if I fail, they won't dare to say anything. Zhou placed his palm on the box. Smack. When his broad palm landed on the box, Zhou expected blue light to shine from between his fingers. Alas, nothing happened. This? My face. Zhou was still inwardly struggling in embarrassment when a faint blue light briefly flashed between his fingers. It lasted for just a moment. Unexpectedly, a crisp clicking sound rang from the box. The Empress Dowager's eyes widened when she saw this. She sounded slightly emotional as she said, I've tried many methods to open the box, but they were all futile. I didn't expect this. It was normal for the Empress Dowager to be moved. After employing different ways to open the box, she knew it was almost impossible to open the box. Li Yunzhao chimed in, I can attest to the fact that even His Majesty failed to open the box. His Majesty tried hacking at it for an entire night with his 8-leaf grand technique. Alas, it was in vain. As expected. You're amazing, Pavilion Master. The 4 elders were genuinely impressed. Zhou was immune to their flattery. He pressed his palm down. The box cracked open, its sides falling apart. The heavenly writing's extraordinary power seemed like the key to the box. In just a moment, the box collapsed into a pile of debris, revealing 2 items that caught Zhou's eyes. There was an envelope that was clearly made from unique materials and a rectangular brocade box. Zhou picked the envelope up first. Apart from him, no one dared to touch the box. As soon as he touched the envelope, he felt a chilly sensation on his skin. It seemed like the envelope was no ordinary envelope, it must have been made to prevent decay. Zhou opened the envelope. As expected, it contained a letter. Stand back. Duanmu Sheng suddenly said as he raised his overlord's spear. The others backed away. Duanmu Sheng's intention was obvious, his master was the only one who could read the letter. The letter read, if someone managed to open this box, it means that the person reading this letter has attained the 9-leaf stage. Nice to meet you, the first, second, or maybe the 3rd 9-leaf cultivator. Anyway, it doesn't matter anymore. I have to tell you that you're leading the world to a huge disaster. If you're the first 9-leaf cultivator, I advise you to weaken your cultivation base to 8.5 leaves. If you're the second, please kill the first. I've left a brush, a sword, and armor. You can kill a 9-leaf cultivator with them. If you can't, then I'm sorry to say both of you will cause a huge disaster. After Zhou finished reading that paragraph, he discovered a paragraph at the side with fine writings. It read, "An imposing tree grew in a forest. It grew upward with all its might in search of more sunlight and raindrops. Its thick trunk took up as much ground space as it could so that it could breathe the freshest air. Its roots dug deep to absorb the essences from the soil. Beside the huge tree, there were several weak trees struggling to survive. Their trunks were thin and fragile, their leaves were yellowing and wilting. The small trees glared at the big tree and said, 'You're so powerful, why must you limit our growth?' The big tree looked at them indifferently and replied, 'To me, your growth will forever be a threat.'" Zhou was slightly puzzled. Was this paragraph about the law of the jungle? He suddenly remembered the super heaven-grade weapon, High Void, and the red magistrate brush in Gu's possession, the red coffin, and the diary from the Rolian. Zhou continued reading the letter. Many madmen searched for the truth behind the heaven and earth's shackles and their lifespans taboo. There are also many madmen who ended up becoming food to beasts. I hope you're not a madman. I like Great Yen. It's peaceful and quiet here. There aren't many killings, and there aren't many madmen. The lifespan of a cultivator is against the will of the heavens, to begin with. It's enough for 8-leaf cultivators to live for 1,000 years. That's why you should tell the people that there is no 9-leaf stage in this world and that men could only live up to 1,000 years. Snuff out their curiosity, and avert the danger. Don't try to investigate this. The things I left behind will be able to prove my words. You must be curious and confused. What is the disaster I speak of, and where did I come from? I'm sorry, I can't reveal the answers to you. My friend, if it's possible, please look for someone on my behalf. She has the surname Luo and was here 300 years ago. Find her and give her the brocade box. If you can't find her, you can have the box." Zhou was shocked. This mysterious elite was also searching for the Luo woman. He looked down at the letter again. "I hope that everything is well." That was the ending. Is that all? The writer refused to reveal his origins or what the danger was. Did he really just leave an ominous warning behind without any context? That was all? Zhou reread the letter several times. He checked, but there was nothing at the back of the letter. Based on the paragraph about the law of the jungle, he was sure it was written as an afterthought. The ink was lighter than the others. Although the writer did not reveal his origin or detail the disaster, it was clear the danger existed. Zhou recalled the final sentences of the secret tome in the red coffin. The handwriting and the tone were similar. They must have been written by the same person. Zhou would be lying if he said that he was not curious. Based on the content of the letter, the 9-leaf stage would bring disaster. Perhaps, the disaster had something to do with the law of the jungle. Humans would not care about the ants crawling in the grass, but what if the ants grew into fist-sized spiders? Zhou shook his head. I'm not an actual 9-leaf cultivator. The 4 evil Sky Pavilion elders were curious. They wanted to know what the letter said. However, they could not see anything. Zhou put the letter away. At the same time, he remembered Wuya. Wuya liked pondering over such things. Perhaps, Wuya would have a better idea about this. Then, he looked at the Empress Dowager and asked, "What's this imperial tutor's name?" The Empress Dowager shook her head. "He never told us his name." Did he leave anything else behind? Inside Great Yan's imperial city, that was all he left. If there's nothing else, it must be somewhere else. Li Yunzhao chimed in at this moment. The 10-terminal formation was drawn by the imperial tutor himself. The others were inwardly shocked. Zhou understood the writer's words about what he left behind being able to prove everything. If the writer was capable of drawing the 10-terminal formation, he must have been an incredible and cunning persona. The writer's words on the letter were airtight. He did not leave any clues about his origins at all. Perhaps, the writer was afraid of humans' inherent curiosity and decided to directly cut the bud off? Where did he go? Zhou asked again. The Empress Dowager sighed. The imperial tutor left without warning. He didn't even tell the emperor. It was as though he had vanished into thin air. The emperor has commissioned men to look for him everywhere. They went as far as the Blackwood Forest in the extreme west. They tried to pass through the forest but failed. Pan Litian frowned and said, I've been to Blackwood Forest as well. I found my gourd bottle there. There are many treasures inside Blackwood Forest. There was a time where there was a treasure hunting trend among human cultivators. There were countless casualties, and many other tribesmen cultivators joined in as well. So, that's all the doing of the imperial family. The Empress Dowager seemed regretful. Li Yunzhao said, the evil sky pavilions Mr. 7th, see Wuya, set fire to a 10,000-mile area on the eastern side of Blackwood Forest. That stopped the treasure hunting. The others looked at Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou's expression remained calm. He acted as though he did not hear anything. What does it have to do with me? He looked at the brocade box on the floor. He flipped his palm and drew the box to him with a surge of energy. His action attracted everyone's attention. They no longer paid attention to the topic before this or the letter's content. Now, they were all curious about the brocade box's content. Master, what's in it? The brocade box was exquisite. It was rectangular with several red lines and patterns. A red lotus was carved onto one side of the brocade box. They were merely lines without any color. The cover of the box was designed to be slid off. There was no need for a key nor were there sealing formation veins. Lu Zhou opened the box. Click. An unadorned but elegant and delicate red-stringed zither lay silently in the brocade box. Ding. Obtained weapon, 9-string zither. State, merits undetermined, grade not activated. When he heard the system's notification, Lu Zhou counted the strings on the zither. Indeed, there were 9 strings. He took the 9-string zither out of the box and placed it on his palm. The 9-string zither was as long as the Lantian jade flute, and yet, it was only as wide as his palm. A zither? The others were stunned. It's a zither. It doesn't look ordinary. Zhou Jifeng stared at it keenly. I feel like you're stating the obvious. When the 9-string zither touched his skin, Lu Zhou felt a faint cold sensation. It felt solid to the touch, and its aesthetics were stunning. Lu Zhou's disciples were baffled. How was anyone supposed to play such a small zither? It was only as wide as a person's palm. Was the player supposed to use a toothpick to pluck the zither's strings? Anyway, that was not important. The point was, why did Great Yan's imperial tutor leave a zither behind?